Weird, I've never had that happen before. Alright, well, setting up this 1 sec, guys. Weird lobby shenanigans aside, this is Rifkin back with Zombie Grub. And spawning here in the lower left corner of the map. Fighting for his life here in the winner's bracket. Boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Desrow. And if you want to follow him on Twitter, you should, can, and will. You can find him over at Desrow Fighting.
And in the top right, as the Red Terran, it is CM Storm Polt.
Fun fact as well for both these players, for those who don't know, neither of them have a team. They are both personally sponsored. Of course, Polt by CM Storm and Desrow by Asus. Kind of a cool thing, because, you know, I bring it up every time we get this, like whether it's Demaga versus Polt, Desrow versus Polt, whoever is in this wonderful triangle. Like, there's not a lot of players who've actually got a secured personal sponsorship. I don't know whether that's better or worse than having a team, but it's kind of neat to see both of the only sponsored, I think, players in this particular tournament squaring off against one another.
Yeah. Well, of course, the only downside would not be having, like, teammates, but, you know, these guys have been in the scene for so long that they definitely have context that at any point they can be like, hey, play a game with me.
Well, I guess, well, yes and no, because I gotta imagine, too, people like Polt and Desrow, they're like the top of their game, like best of the Protoss, best of the Terran. It's gonna be hard to find people who are like, yeah, you're just gonna destroy me, I don't know.
Oh, no, the mindset should be that, oh, yeah, definitely, I want to learn.
See, I agree with that 1,000,000%, and I wish that was like the mindset of like most of the North American scene, but it seems to be there's like this lamenting, what's that word? Not attrition, apathy towards like getting better, because like for the North American Cup for Zotac, there's something I've been pulling for a long time, like why don't more people play in this, and a lot of them are like, oh, it's a bunch of Koreans, I don't stand a chance, why would I play? So I don't know, like, I would love if that was the mentality of everybody, where it's like, oh yeah, bring it on, I could take you any day, anytime, anywhere.
That is weird. Zotac's actually not even, I mean, I don't want to, like, say this is a bad thing, but it's never, like, really full. So it is, like, you know, $100 for not that technically, like, long of a series. You definitely have people playing out for maybe even less money for a much longer time.
Well, one way or another, of course, we're focused here on IEM. Sao Paulo, Brazil qualifiers. I love saying that. Sao Paulo. I didn't know how to pronounce it when I did this with Penguin for the European brackets, but Sao Paulo, Brazil. I can't, well, okay, my accents are terrible. I know this. We learned this last night, but it's fun to say. Polt opening with the Reaper, of course. I love that he's searching for proxies immediately here. He's not expecting, of course, gateways. He wasn't expecting Desrow to cheese him, but he wanted to make sure that it wasn't going to be a Stargate. He wanted to make sure there was nothing that was going to catch him quite off guard with his pants down. And after scouting in the base, seeing the expansion with the SCV, he's going to bring the Reaper over here to get some kills, because he knows, all right, you've got expansion, you've got one gas, you're not hitting me with anything too crazy.
Sneaky probe, by the way, barely missed the Reaper. The Reaper barely missed it. Can go back in and scout. I thought he was going to go for the command center. I think that's the most annoying thing a Protoss player can do, is keep it just off to the side and come back and kill that pilling SCV, but he went for the barracks instead, so not going to be getting that. Might have been better off, but at least he got a scout.
This probe might die. Never mind. Does run back home. Reaper thinking he's safe out of the range of the mothership core. Actually, really dangerous. Almost lost it. 4 health. One more hit, of course, would have killed it. Combat drugs had not. Well, they had just kicked in, but man, that was not a way you want to lose a Reaper.
I swear that it used to be different. Like you actually can't jump up on a lot of places on Derelict Watcher. It looks like you can, maybe because it looks so similar to Star Station, but honestly, you can only pretty much go down the ramp and to the left of the ramp.
I know, there's like that weird doodad there that makes it look like you can, but coming back to the Reaper once again, would be nice if Polt could scout out that Stargate, but Desrow's going to make sure he does not get back in the base. Now, this actually isn't so tryhard where you're like pulling probes and you want to really hide something. As far as Polt's concerned, this is just Desrow playing defense and will pick off that Reaper. Nicely done. So Polt, if he wants to, could burn a scan, but you'd never see Terran players really burn scans against things like this.
We're pretty greedy like that. The good news is that because the Stargate, like, obviously it wasn't the fastest possible is 530 Oracle. It's that Polt's going to have enough Marines to actually take care of it. It's not going to start that snowball going, but it's just going to be difficult to cover both bases.
Is it still, with the new speed, is it still exactly 6 that you need to deal with the Oracle, or is that 7 now? I don't know if I guess it depends on the way you engage.
I don't think the speed would actually matter. I thought it was 5 with good micro and 6 like easy peasy.
Well, I mean, like, because, you know, Marines are often in a line. You can dodge in and dodge out, grab that first one before the other 5
That's true.
I don't know. Things have changed a lot, of course, with that big speed increase to the Oracles. We'll see what happens. Polt, though, with 6 in each mineral line. With production behind this, he should be fine to hold this off. We do have 2 stalkers sitting out here in the middle of the map to make sure no more scouts go out, but Polt's, of course, not worried about scouting right now. He's worried about defense. He's even got a bunker coming down at the top of the ramp.
Very odd position. You usually see them right in the middle, but it doesn't actually matter. Just kind of, I don't know, OCD thing right there. Twilight Council is also coming up behind it. So this could be into a blink all in. That'd be really interesting.
I'm not going to lie, just while we're at the leg screen here. I thought the exact same thing. I'm like, you're building that one grid too off to the side. Of course, not the biggest deal in the world, of course, guys. Argue, hopefully, he'll be okay. Of course, we'll do our best to make sure that nobody really suffers through lag through this. Oracle coming towards the natural mineral line, though, sees the Marines and is immediately deterred. Goes towards the main, but of course, Polt's got about 6 waiting for him over there. Yeah.
Just going to be owning the Charge Archon, or Charge Out Archon behind this. I think it's the better option, definitely from the the Option Corps being going up to Colossus. Although, actually, some Pros players have been experimenting with just like mass gateway defense, but it is super difficult.
Do you really think it'd be Archons, though, investing in the ground armor like that?
I mean, I say Charge Out Archon, but like it's only Archon if it's an emergency, right? Like,
I guess, yeah. That's
I think it's gonna go up to High Templars. Yeah.
Everyone, of course, goes for the High Templar. It's like, oh, Storm's not done yet. Archons.
Yeah, it's almost never actually Charge Out Archon. Although there is a really good all in that is just like you can actually skip Storm, but yeah, that's what I meant. High Templars.
All right, sorry. I don't know. Sometimes I get worried that, like, because I know you play the game about 1,000,000 times more than me. I'm like, oh, did I miss like a giant shift in the meta?
No. Good Revelation just went down. Like a complete army.
Yeah, 100% of Polt's bio units are covered. You can see this coming from a mile away. Desrow knows exactly what's coming to his doorstep. And this is kind of weird. The one scenario where force fields are going to be fantastic for him. If he baits this army up the ramp, Polt's going to try and duck in and get that overcharge, right? But then if you lock him in with the force fields, then instead of running away, he's actually forced to fight, and he's going to lose a lot.
This is not that scary of an army. Of course, like the Mothership Cannon is really, really scary. But yeah, he should. I think it's a better option just going ahead and forcing it completely off, not even taking that bet. Behind this, though, I want to point out Desrow had gotten 6 more gateways.
Yeah.
Bringing him up to a total of 8. So I think it is going to be, funnily enough.
Just scans it all.
Scan.
Every single gateway.
Well, I do believe this is going to be like a Charge Out Archon actually in all in. Because we just talked about that being usually now what happens, but it's pretty much really effective because ghosts are never out at this point. But of course you need time to get up there, and Polt is going ahead and trying to stop it here.
I like this out of Desrow. This catches you a lot of the bio that cannot retreat. You're going to lose a couple units in the process, of course, but this forces Polt to fight. And if Polt doesn't have a lot of bio, Polt's not going to be doing any dropping behind this.
Yeah. Very good point. Yeah, the drops just aren't going to be that powerful anymore. As opposed to the last game where he kept most of his army, if not all of his army, alive, and the drops were very, very powerful. But additionally, Desrow could take this as like a time to say, well, that went really well. Let me put a proxy pylon down and not take a third. But he does in fact take a third, so the gateways are just going to be for enough production because it's really nice. Well, the reason that Charge Out Archon works so well is because you dump the minerals into the Zealots and obviously the gas into High Templars. But I think after that, he could have done really well. In fact, Polt was a little scared. You wouldn't usually see a supply depot wall, but if it was Charge Out Archon, it really helps out.
Now, one thing worth noting, guys, just a small note away from this game. In chat, there's a gentleman called The Far Side. I've actually given him a mod to, you can verify he is working on the brackets. He's the guy who invited us to cast, and he's the one we're working with today. So anything he says in chat, update-wise, you can believe it to be true. He's being actually pretty awesome in delivering updates in chat instead of basically, you guys can check the brackets if you want to see.
Yeah. Polt moving out right here. Again, like you said, not as powerful an army as we might have been used to seeing. So I think Desrow, Terrans can usually get at least one cancel on the third, especially if they play the cards right. But it's a lot easier for Desrow right now.
I was going to say, if Desrow's got a Templar over there with energy to storm, he might be trying to hope for a fight, but oh no, the Mothership Core gets picked off. Does get a Time Warp before that goes down. However, as we see, medevacs are not affected by this. Dropping towards the main, there's a couple of charge lots waiting. They do have +2 armor. They should be able to clean this up. Polt does not have +2 weapons yet.
Oh, it's all been dropped. Oh, waiting for the storm was a really good move. I think Polt was kind of like, running away? Nice, but that's a really good storm. Exactly.
Desrow holds the third base with this one on too. It was a small, I think it was like 1 or 2 Marines, only nothing too crazy. But again, I love that he's got Templar at each of his bases. Like, he knows the drops will be coming at some point. No matter how much bio you kill, it's Polt. Even putting a cannon or 2 down just to make sure that the drops don't go down completely for free, completely unpunished.
Yeah. You know what? I also think Polt went up to 5 racks maybe a bit before he went on that command center, so he really wanted to try and do some damage in the mid game, but now he's kind of just resigned to saying, well, okay, Desrow, you got that third up. It's not going to be going down unless I really, really try. So I'm just going to go ahead and take the being behind in the mid game, which is a problem. But of course, Polt being Polt can come back from any situation. Like he's actually the one player you can say that's true and not just be.
Polt is the one guy in the StarCraft 2 universe who gets behind and is still ahead somehow. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
What
like
say.
we can talk about other players being like, oh, they can come out of any situation, they're that good. But Polt's actually the one that everyone's like, he was behind. Like, what the hell happened? But he's going to continue pushing. Like, even if it's down in supply, you can't just sit back as a Terran player. You always got to keep Protoss on their toes. It's not going to work nearly as well as it did last game.
Nice storm. Gets a lot of the Marines. Oh, man. And, of course, the rest are low. I do love, by the way, Desrow with that Oracle earlier has not been getting kills with it, but constantly popping off revelations on this army. He knew precisely when that army was coming back. The Oracle's still alive. Another revelation perhaps in store. In about 30 seconds game time, maybe. But that's what allowed him to set up that great storm. He had revelation up until that last second on that little chunk of bio.
We're getting a few Widow Mines popping out. I guess that's going to be really useful for defense against Zealot run-bys as well as potentially a War Prism harass. I think that was on purpose anyways. You could also be going, a lot of Terrans have been experimenting going up to Hellbats with the factory rather than just using it as a scout.
I like the Colossus hallucinations. Polt doesn't know whether that's legit or not. He may have seen the tail end of that second hallucination, but Sims forward to go for the tail part, recognizes there's not a lot of damage coming down. He knows their Colossus are hallucination, but it doesn't stop. If you're on the front lines, you're A moving in, you're still going to hit those hallucinations.
Yeah, that's why they're better than most people expect. Like, yeah, you can see them, but they're still going to make your units be really dumb. There's still more storms for Desrow. That's really a hallmark of a good player is having those backup storms, because a Terran player at any point could see a bunch of high numbers go down and say, yay, no more storms, and be completely blindsided by 2 extra ones.
Well, pretty good engagement coming in the middle of the map. No storms quite in range. Templar lagging behind. Desrow's got to keep in mind. He does keep in mind. He pulls back a little bit, recognizing that.
Ooh, nice.
Good force fields. Polt lifts up, though, a good chunk of the army. Still loses several Marauders. And, you know, as low damage as this game has been, it's been rather intense because either of these engagements, if they end poorly, the other player just walks over the other.
Yeah. Polt's only been fighting with about a quarter of his army, by the way. It's actually really smart because you can kite the Zealots all day, that's still effective, and just have like your other chunk of army just waiting behind. But he, of course, will be regrouping very, very shortly. As you can see, it's finally moving across the map. The other chunk of army might be paired up later for another Doom drop, as we saw last game.
I'm really liking, too, by the way, Desrow's upgrades have been ahead in a big way. Polt, of course, has been a little bit behind on the armor upgrades. Not that big of a deal because, of course, you're running mostly away from storms. And storms do ignore armor. But those weapon upgrades coming up for Polt going to make these fights a little bit more difficult for Desrow to take so quite easily. But even then, look at the Zealots. They just take those hits like champs. Blinking forward to catch these medevacs. A nice move there. Of course, will Polt pick up and get out, or is he just going to stim away?
Well, at this point, the boost is out, so the Blinkstalkers would have caught him, but he just pulled the army entirely out of position. Oh no, Desrow falls for it. I mean, we fell for it too, actually. That split!
What is this? Like, insane mode AI splitting coming out of Polt. Big Warprints coming down, but where's the Mothership Core? Desrow doesn't have one. No recall capabilities in this. He's going to lose his third outright, and this is going to hurt. That was, oh my god, that's like throwing a ball and watching a dog play fetch. That was really unfortunate. Desrow did take this southern base, though, while this is going on, so while he may have to give up this one, it's not like he's screwed with his economy. Gonna lose his Colossus, that's gonna hurt, but another one's about to pop out.
Saves a lot of the probes, and of course, there's no way Polt's gonna be pushing up against storms in the natural, and the army has finally come back and moves on the other side of the map, but Polt just lives up and leaves without losing a single medevac.
Now, what's really key here is while Desrow did lose the base, he did manage to nullify a large portion of that army. Downside being, Terran players don't have a problem reducing bio. It's the medevacs, it's the ghosts, it's the Vikings. Those are the expensive ones that are hard to replace. Polt, as we see, 6 Marines at a time, 5 Marauders at a time. I think the base snipe was worth it ultimately in the end.
Yeah, and he's doing that thing again. We're just getting a bunch of command centers behind it. So, I mean, really, most other Terrans, and we'll pay attention later on as we cast more and more players, would not have multiple command centers at this time. Like, maybe if the game goes a bit longer, they will. But Polt, very fast on the trigger of getting those additional command centers, getting those defensive planetaries.
Kind of cool to see, too. Of course, when you don't incorporate Hellbats in your build, you don't really have a lot of splash damage, and charge lots are the biggest pain in the butt. But, of course, planetary fortresses, or fortressi, I don't know. Oh, it's called I didn't even know it had a name. The Ibix cannon. I've always just referred to it as the cannon. But anyways, it, of course, does a ton of splash damage, which is really nice. Polt still being very active, controlling the watchtower up here in the north. Of course, looking to expand up here.
We're gonna die?
I think it's just going to tag the army and yep. Desrow has been so good. This Oracle, for anyone who's forgotten, this Oracle's been alive for pretty much the duration of this game, constantly tagging, revealing the army time after time after time. This it might not be the main army, but this is again that drop that Desrow would be otherwise paranoid about.
Yeah, he doesn't want to have the same thing happen again that just happened 5 minutes ago, that Polt uses one half of his army to pull away and then the other half goes and just wrecks a base. Definitely going to be a lot more paranoid about that happening.
Well, charge lot's going to engage here in the south. Polt going to move into the north, not too unexpectedly, but Desrow sees this. He sees this coming fully and entirely.
Yeah, no surprises here, and he does have enough, at least if the storms actually hit home, but Polt splits can be pretty good.
Those 2 Templar, by the way, somehow barely dodged those storms, so maybe Polt didn't see that coming. I don't know, but some good storms do go down. However, it's mostly Marauders against Stalkers, and that's not going to work. Really need some... Ooh, Dark Templar coming in. Didn't even catch the Dark Shrine get made. Polt, of course, just using all of his scans. Going to lose this base, Desrow, but Dark Templar will clean that up.
Yeah, it just finished, so not surprising.
Oh, Desrow's going to lose his other base, though. Where's the army of Desrow? Did he pull everything to respond? He did.
Yeah.
Oh
man, he's getting pulled apart.
Again, out of position. That's twice now. He's going to lose bases because of it, and it's really unfortunate because his defense has been pretty good. He seems to keep falling for these baits from Polt.
Yeah, it's super impressive watching Polt play this matchup. At this point, 22 minutes in, they have both splash. A lot of Terrans would have been like, oh, I guess got to resign myself into playing, straight up versus straight up. But Polt still, like, a bunch of drops, a bunch of harassment, still actually relying on the Terran, like, strength rather than just saying, like, oh, well, hope I have a bajillion ghosts and a billion Vikings to beat your death ball.
It can't be a bajillion of both, Zombie Grub. It has to be a bajillion and a billion. There's, like, supply caps.
Yeah, I mean, it's clearly supply clap. Jesus.
Supply clap. All right. Anyways, factory finally going to burn down here. The scouting information from Polt hasn't been insane out of it, but of course, not something Desrow wants to have floating around. Going to lose the space here to the south, but I don't think he's going to really... Oh, is he really going to respond to this? I mean, he doesn't know if there's something to the north waiting to come in once again. Like, I think for Desrow at this point, if he's not going to go offensive with a Warp Prism, like, he had one in the north somewhere, right? Yeah, still up there. Oh, storm drops are in it. I was going to say, if he's not going to go offensive with warp-ins, not going to sneak a pylon or anything like that, he's just got to turtle up until he can secure a base. Like, I mean, this is the problem with last game, too. His economy was in the gutter.
Yeah, I feel like he missed something. 34 probes have gone down. No, that was actually for Storm. Never mind. Misread, but,
yeah, it's the storm
never
drops
mind
I was talking
then.
about.
Yeah,
we
the storm
missed
drops
it.
didn't do actually that much.
We missed it because we're terrible broadcasters, guys, but still.
No, I thought Desrow was the one who killed 34 probes, so Polt killing 34 probes definitely makes a lot more sense. Catching all of them on their retreat after he killed the Nexi.
Yeah, it's always I always view that too as like red is 34 lost, not 34 killed.
Yeah, there was actually no good way they could do that. Either one would be confusing.
Well, coming out here in the middle of the map, Desrow definitely looking for a fight in a much better position this game than he was last game, but blinks forward aggressively into Marauders. Not something you want to do. 3 Colossus and a lot of Archons and 3 full energy Templar. As long as he doesn't eat some EMPs, he should be able to get some good storms. But look at this fight around the planetary fortress. This is what Polt really wants. Another storm needs to come down. Beautiful storm blanketing the Marauders, but the Colossus still going to be full retreat. Unfortunately, the Vikings are a little too good.
Oh, where's the point defense drone? Actually, the Raven goes down before even getting it off, so a bit useless right there. But the fight, well, no, Polt's army's super red right now.
But there's still planetary Desrow's got to go through.
Yeah,
so
will be enough.
Good game. All right, Polt will 2-0 Desrow, send him to the losers bracket. But again, if you're a Desrow fan, don't worry, guys. He's not out of the tournament yet.